private deal that may or may not have, because he recently had tweeted something that had showed basically his how pessimistic really he is,
Okay.
and that he really isn't too sure about anything, but he's really just sort of saying that something will happen. And he recently took a plummet because after they slashed him, they argued that there wasn't even a formal proposal really. It was just sort of his
Okay, just sort of talking.
yeah.
Okay.
Really, sort of. And then another thing that was Wells Fargo. There was claims of them wholesale banking employees who altered or added information to a lot of their companies.
Wells Fargo has been having problems for the last few years, have they not?
Recently a lot of problems.
Yes.
And going along with those recent problems, they had to pay up to $2.10 billion in civil penalties leading up to the financial crisis.
Okay.
And basically the whole issue is that they were supposedly changing the documents, things like social security numbers, addresses, and dates of birth. There's no real explanation to it, so they're really trying to figure out if this was more.
Was there some incentive?
That's what I was getting to. Yeah, they want to know if it was being pushed by the company itself, or these employees themselves were just sort of coming up with the idea to do it for their own personal gain.
All right.
And then there was also a major hotel worker strike that went down in downtown Chicago, where 25 downtown hotels were actually being, where 2,500 workers took to the streets and they started.
Have you ever been to Chicago?
I haven't.
Okay. You must go.
I want to.
It's a beautiful city. It's sort of like New York's pretty sister.
I heard
The
that.
wide boulevards and the river running right down. Anybody been to Chicago? Isn't it? It's fantastic, isn't it? Did you take the tour?
I don't like pizza there.
Huh?
The pizza.
Yeah.
Compared to here.
Oh, well, they don't have good pizza, but if you're a meat lover, Carney, they got some good meat. Oh, right. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
And then basically the workers just were arguing about the fact that their health care benefits during the slow winters, they don't help out at all because they basically stop during the winter. So they're arguing, they're just trying to push for year-round health care. And one of the housekeepers in there mentioned that they were losing money for their diabetes medication, and they compared it to, just because the business is losing doesn't mean that I have to lose my medication.
Okay.
So that was
Thank you, Tim. Please send us a replacement. Yes, sir. Your name? Demetrius. Talk to me.
I read the article about the highest profile case. They asked the person that was performing the regulation right to current. So according to this law, it's about
Okay. Demetrius, thank you. Send someone else up, please. Your name, sir?
Connor.
Connor. Talk to me.
Alright, so first article was about how Trump is thinking about ending this program.
Before you begin, there's a book coming out. Are you aware of it? Anybody know about the book? Ladies and gentlemen, are you reading? Everybody's been talking about this book for a week. We talked about where's Whitaker? We talked about the op-ed article, now that you know what an op-ed is. And Woodard, you gotta read the paper when you go home, all right? Okay, continue.
So anyway, he's thinking about ending this program called Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. And this program just allows younger immigrants to come and live and work in the country.
Okay.
And there was about 700,000 young people who were brought in during the Obama era. And basically there's a debate on whether they should actually end it or not. But it seems like it's going to be a while before the
thank you, Connor. Since someone else up, Alan, I believe, right? Okay, Alan, talk.
So this article is about the recent tariff that Trump is putting on China.
Okay.
So it's pretty much Trump is telling Apple to make their production in the U.S. This is because Trump, doesn't want Apple to, have a policy of 25% tariff. However, Apple doesn't want to do this because they believe that it's going to hurt it's only going to hurt other companies in the economic growth of the U.S.
Okay.
However, Trump does, but there's Trump said that Apple CEO Tim Cook said that they were willing to build a new manufacturing plant in the U.S., but they haven't done so at all.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Send someone else. Tell Pime.
What's that?
Tulu Pime. You have to say it loud. Yeah, okay. Talk to me.
I think jobless rate steady 3.9%.
Okay.
The pace of hiring in over some workers paycheck were strong. The operating rate steady, showing ongoing strength in the labor market.
Okay.
Then the unemployment rate was 3% in the past. Labor then there is a little sign of easing significant heading into the final 120 days.
Okay.
Then wages pick up in overseas very strong. Labor market is pressuring employers to require higher paid conditions as the overall cost of living is up. The average hourly earnings for all private sector workers increased 10 cents. That's most to 20 cents
Okay.
There is a 2.9% increase from both.
Thank you, sir. I'm just wondering, I believe you're from Japan. While you're here in the U.S., do you keep up with Japanese news? Do you read newspapers from Japan or online
Actually, I
sites?
just
Okay. Anything happening there that you we might be interested in knowing?
actually we had the election. Prime Minister.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's coming up soon.
Yeah, there is the next.
Okay. All right. Thank you. You can return to your seat. No replacement. Yes, sir. Your name?
Eric?
Eric? Okay, Eric.
This article is about and how doesn't have like contact despite the initial backlash at first, they're still moving on and doing it.
Okay. What's the backlash about?
It's because the insurance call cabinet for the ad, and most people were reporting stuff for it, and they just thought it would be a better person.
Okay.
And at first, so they had backlash where they actually rebounded up to 3.6%. It was basically erased all the initial losses they had from that original campaign.
Mhm.
The online sales were up 31%.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
My name is Krishna,
Uh-huh.
and all the articles from Wall Street Journal. So the first one is that CEOs and Aetna are working together to form their Medicare Part B plans,
Mhm.
which went against the antitrust law specifically.
What do you mean by antitrust?
So,
What's the aim? What do they?
so they were trying to just combine to get Aetna's health management insurance company
Okay.
and CEO's pharmacy.
Is there some concern that they might have a monopoly? It'll be too big?
Yeah, so they had a concern that they would increase their size of the market and increase their prices for the consumers.
Okay.
So that went to some people court, and then it resulted that some CVS was selling part of their candy business to reduce their competition size, along with Aetna and their company.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to focus on the court system, civil trial process, and ADR. I need a distinguished panel of guests to come help me do this. Whitaker, come on down. Lou, come on down. Boss lady, come on down.
Terms?
Yes, the terms and the definition. Yes, sir. Stretching
No,
your hand.
stretching, sir.
All right. Okay, let's start at the beginning. I think the last class, we started talking about the Supreme Court, and we looked at the nomination of Justice Thomas and all of the fanfare around his nomination. We also examined law review article that was written after he took the bench by Leon Hickenbottom. We talked about the thesis there and the various ideas that he was attempting to convey, and hoping that Mr. Justice Thomas would heed his advice and do the right thing. I guess if we had to render a verdict, we'd say that he's not done the right thing according to Hickenbottom. Anyway, so now we're going to look more specifically at the court system. As you know, there are 52 court systems in the United States. Am I right, Lou? Yes, I'm right. Okay. Could you name them for me? Sure you can. How many states are there? There are 50, so you only need to give me 2 more. Rita? No, that's a court. I'm talking about court system. The Supreme Court is what part of what system? Federal system. All right, now we're up to 51. We need 1 more. Yes, Washington what? Washington, D.C. Okay, so the D.C. Circuit. So our court systems in the United States, there are 52 of them. There's 1 for each state. There's a federal circuit, and there's a D.C. circuit. We're going to focus on the federal circuit. Boss Lee, you mind calling me that? Just put your name's there, so I guess you don't mind. Anyway, what's the highest court in the federal system? The Supreme Court. How do you get to the Supreme Court? You apply, you go down to the employment office and put in your application, or you put something on Craigslist. What's the process?
As far as the case?
And no, as far as you get a job, how do you become a justice on the Supreme Court?
Oh, you get, some appointed by the president.
Okay, so the president nominates you, then what happens?
Has to get approved.
Okay, who approves it? Lou?
Yes, the Senate.
The Senate. Okay, so the Senate has to confirm. And as we speak, we know that there are confirmation hearings going on now because presently we only have 8 justices to sit on the Supreme Court. Well, how long do they stay there? Lifetime. Unless what happens, sir? Well, if they die, of course, they got to go. They're gone, all right? But if they commit a crime or high treason or something like that, felony, they got to go. And it's too bad if we could, if the Me Too movement had their way, they'd get rid of Mr. Thomas about now. Okay, all right. Now, let me ask you like a broader question, Lou. It's been said that if a man or a woman wants to become immortal and kind of live forever, they can plant a tree, write a book, have a child. Those 3 things won't make you live forever, but your legacy will go on for quite a long time. What is the one power that the president has to ensure that his or her legacy continues? When they support the Supreme Court justice, why is that?
Because they're justices for life, so
They're justices for life, and
they probably share the same values.
okay, they have the same values. They have the same judicial philosophy. And these guys, they get on. I mean, some of them, they're appointed for like in their 30s. They can be on for like 40 years. A lot of the federal judges that were appointed by President Reagan are still on the bench. Okay? And how are they interpreting them? You're interpreting in a very conservative way. Okay? As we mentioned earlier, the law is not neutral. The law is not always logical. And in fact, each individual brings all that they are to the particular position. As I mentioned before, if I were appointed tomorrow, I'd bring everything. I'd bring my upbringing in the Midwest. I bring my Afro-American culture. I bring all of my individual prejudices and biases and my religion and beliefs would all come with me to the bench. And then I would interpret the law through the lens of who I am. All right? Okay. So now, how does one, if you want your case heard by the Supreme Court, what do you do?
You have to get a
Okay, a petition of certiorari. Certiorari.
Funny, that's how I thought it was.
Yeah, I figured you did. I could tell. All right. A writ of certiorari. And how do they make the decision? What rule do they use? The rule of four. So basically, 4 justices have to approve. All right. Now, do they accept most cases? No. There are thousands of petitions that are filed each year, petitions for certiorari, but they're denied. Okay. If the court decides to hear the case, it issues what? A writ of certiorari. Okay. All right. All right. We may come back to the Supreme Court. But so if we're drawing a diagram here, we have the Supreme Court here is at the apex. And what's the next level of court, sir? No, you're down too far. No. Huh? What's the next court, Dimitri? Or courts? We got the Supreme Court, sir. We want to know what's underneath the Supreme Court. Huh? You had to say something. You did say something, huh? No. Yes, sir.
Is it the appeals?
Yes, U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals. What's your name?
Caitlin?
Thank you very much. And how many are there?
A lot.
Huh?
A lot.
A lot. Okay, be more specific, sir.
I don't think I have a number.
You don't think you have it? Somebody must have it. Eric?
13?
13. Name them for me, Eric. Please.
Well, you want to do first, second, third? Or
Okay, 1 through 11. That's easy. They're numbers, all right? U.S. Circuit Courts of Appeals. There's 1 through 11, and then there are 2 more, right? Federal
DC?
and D.C. All right. Now, the 1 through 11 sort of represents the geographical map of the United States is divided up, okay? We happen to be in what circuit? Joe?
Third Circuit.
And what other states and or territories comprise the Third Circuit?
Delaware, Pennsylvania, and the Virgin Islands.
U.S. Virgin Islands. You ever been there?
Yeah.
Where? St. Croix, St. Thomas?
Yeah, St. Thomas.
Okay, all right. You got to go to St. Croix.
St. Croix.
Yeah, it's pretty nice too. Not as much fanfare as St. Thomas. Okay, all right. So we know that New Jersey's in the Third Circuit. All right. Now, this is there. It can get a little more complicated, but we're keeping ours sort of like we're giving the bare bones. So we got the Supreme Court, we have the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and what's the trial court in the federal system? You're right, the Federal District Court. You're not getting the gold star today, sir. All right, the Federal District Court. And how many Federal District Courts are there? 94. How might we come up with the number of 94? Any idea? No? Tim? Because there are 50 states. All right, this is how we come up with it. Each state has at least one federal district court. The more populous states have multiple federal district courts. In New Jersey, how many do we have? Pluto, please tell me. Pluto, please. How many do we have in New Jersey? 3? Well, you're kind of like you're almost there. You're kind of like in the right church. You're just sitting in the wrong pew. You got to move up further. There's one federal district court in New Jersey, but it sits in 3 locations, and those locations, sir, are. Okay, and how? Why do you think it's so? What? Newark's here, right? Trenton's there. Camden's here. Strategically, the north, the middle, and the south. Okay, that's why it's like that. And bankruptcy court. The bankruptcy court is an arm of the federal district court. The bankruptcy court, however, is unlike the other federal courts. And the other courts are Article 3 courts. And Article 3 courts, that's Article 3 of the Constitution, those judges and justices there, they have lifetime tenure. As for the bankruptcy court, they have 14-year terms, which are renewable. I happen to have been lucky enough to clerk for a judge in the federal bankruptcy court, and I sat down in Camden. And while we were there, we heard several cases involving our president. A lot of the casino cases when he was involved. Okay, so we have the Supreme Court, we have the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, and then we have the federal district courts, of which there are 94. Now, boss lady, we have these terms. We have jurisdiction, we have venue. Distinguish them.
I'm gonna make it, and I'm gonna say jurisdiction would be, like, two separate, like, areas, as opposed to venue, which is a smaller jurisdiction.
Well, that's a good try. Whitaker?
I think it's like where you take the person that got in trouble. Jurisdictions like, say you got in trouble, like Essex County, they go to Essex County Court, like a certain area that they have.
Okay, all right. So jurisdiction is the power to hear and decide a case. Okay, so the case, if we're in New Jersey and we have it happens in Essex County, the Superior Court of Essex County has jurisdiction. Okay, so jurisdiction is the power to hear and decide, and venue is a geographical location. Yes, yes? Okay, thank you very much. Boss lady, I'm going to excuse you. Send someone else up, okay? All right. Whitaker, look at the list. I'm going to let you choose something on the list now. Well, no, let's stay with jurisdiction. I want to stay with jurisdiction, all right? I changed my mind. Federal question jurisdiction. Do you have any idea? I don't know if that's on your list. Is that on your list? Rita, tell us about federal question jurisdiction.
It's an issue affecting all of the institutions.
Okay. The federal courts can have jurisdiction if there's a federal question involved. And a federal question means that there's some interpretation of the Constitution, a federal law, a treaty, or some federal crime. You rob a national bank, that's a federal crime. So the federal courts have jurisdiction based on the federal question, Constitution, law, legislation. Okay, the federal courts can also acquire jurisdiction based on diversity of citizenship. Joe, you want to tell us a little bit about diversity of citizenship?
Yeah, it's the federal court's power to hear any case where the amount of controversy exceeds 75,000.
Okay, so the amount of controversy has to exceed 75,000. What else?
And no plaintiff shares the state of citizenship with any defendant.
Okay, so the plaintiff and defendant have to be citizens of different states. Okay, and this has to be absolute. So in other words, if you and Esmeralda, that's your real name, isn't it? Okay, Esmeralda are the plaintiffs. And the three of us are defendants. I'm from Ohio, this gentleman's from Indiana, this gentleman's from Iowa, okay? And you're from New Jersey, and Esmeralda's from Iowa as well. Is there is there diversity of citizenship there? No, why?
Because it has to be no plaintiff shares the state of citizenship with any defendant.
Okay, all right. And these two share the same state, all right? Okay, all right. So we can have federal question jurisdiction. Yes, sir. Huh?
Like that circumstance, I don't get the reason. So just two people from the same state is not understood.
No, well, let's go a little further. The reason, first of all, before I answer your question, is that you can opt to have it's optional. You can decide that the federal court, the matter can stay in federal courts, or the matter can go to the civil court if there's diversity. Now, why individuals might want to have the matter removed from a state court to a federal court is the federal court might be prejudiced against them. You ever heard of DuPont? You know where the DuPonts are located? Delaware. Oh, anybody been to Delaware before? Alright. Huh? Where were you?
I went to Virginia chapter.
Through Delaware. Okay, interesting place. Anyway, in Delaware, what was my point? DuPont. Okay, that's why we're in Delaware. DuPont. Okay. You don't know the DuPonts. Okay. Johnson, J&J, Johnson's. Okay, where are they located? New Brunswick, all right? Okay. Now, if I was a citizen of, and I wanted to sue J&J, New Brunswick, okay, I'm suing them. I don't really want to sue J&J in the Middlesex County Superior Court. Why? They have friends there. There are a lot of people that have gone to school based on their employment there. Their father's there. A lot of people are connected to Johnson & Johnson, okay? The same way if you're suing DuPont, you don't want it heard in Delaware. If you're suing R.J. Reynolds, you don't want it heard in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. You want to remove it to a more neutral place, okay? So, with diversity of citizenship, you have the option to have it heard by federal or state court. So we have that sort of jurisdiction. Then we have some jurisdiction called in rem. In rem. Can you help me out, sir?
I actually don't know, sir.
You can't?
No.
Why?
I wasn't here last Friday, and
This is your first time here ever?
no, I was.
Oh, well, you have no excuse.
I'm not.
All right? You don't get a star today. Yes. In rem. Tim?
What?
In rem jurisdiction. Sound familiar? Yes.
Does it concern a particular piece of property?
Okay, the thing is jurisdiction based on rem. Anybody take Latin? They don't teach Latin anymore? No? Only Spanish? Okay, all right. In rem. Rem is a thing. So based on where the thing is, the court will have jurisdiction. In New Jersey, we have superior courts. There's a superior court in every county. Okay? If there's a dispute about property in Hackensack, anybody live in Hackensack? Okay, what county is that?
Bergen.
Okay, all right. So the Bergen County Superior Court would have jurisdiction there because the property is located in Hackensack as opposed to the Essex County Superior Court. All right? Yes, makes sense? All right. We need somebody up. What's your name? We have an empty seat. Come on down. All right. What's next on your list here, Mr. Whitaker? In personam jurisdiction. In personam. Eric, can you help us out there?
It's the court's authority to determine personal rights and liabilities.
Okay, when the court has jurisdiction based on the person,
Yeah.
where the person is. Where the person is. All right? Any other sorts of jurisdiction there? Do you have long arm statute?
Yeah.
Okay. And what's a long arm statute?
Ability of the local court to exercise jurisdiction for our state, our nation, and our jurisdiction.
Okay, when the person has, not from that jurisdiction, but they have some sort of contact, they're conducting business there. If we're talking about a corporate citizen, and corporations are people, right? They're fictional people. If we're talking about a corporation, either they have like their headquarters there, a large sales force there, that establishes the minimum contact that gives them, Now, this is something that happened to me, Mr. Whitaker. Years ago, I used to, during spring break, I used to go to St. Croix for spring break. And there's this place here on the water, I won't mention the name of the hotel. Well, there it goes, the Buccaneer, one of the better hotels there. And so I met some friends there, and you only see them once a year. So we were there, and we turned up a few. You understand? Yeah. And unfortunately, this particular evening, I had over my limit. And I did something one should never do. After I had my fifth one, I decided I'm gonna go back to my hotel. On my way back to the hotel, I'm driving down the street there, and the next thing I know, there's a Ford dealership there. Somehow, my car managed to go right through the window of the Ford dealership. You think it's funny, Mr. Williams? Come out the other side of the dealership and hit a car that was passing. Luckily, all I did was property damage. The police, they had a report.
You made it out the other side. And
Yes,
then
I
got
did.
another car.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. It was a good night. All right. Okay. So I made it to the other side, and the police came. They wrote up the report, and they actually dropped me off at the hotel. They didn't arrest me or anything. So I slept for a couple hours. Then it dawned on me what had happened. And if you're in St. Croix, they don't have planes coming, often. So my trick, I said, I gotta get over to San Juan. In San Juan, they got, from Puerto Rico, there's like a flight every hour almost coming to New York City. So I got on I got to Puerto Rico and I came back to the United States. About a month later, I get something in the mail, commanding me to come back to the territorial court of the U.S. Virgin Islands in St. Croix because of this accident. Did I have to go? Yes. Because the activities that I had there, they were able to extend their long arm all the way from the Virgin Islands to Newark, New Jersey, and say, come on down. All right? Long arm statute. Since then, I no longer go to St. Croix for spring break. I found a new venue. It's Mexico. This guy you may have heard of. But anyway, Snoop Dogg has a special for Professors Going Wild. Huh? It's not getting personal. But anyway, Snoop Dogg has something spring break. Professors Going Wild. So I go down there. And everything that happens there stays there. So. All right. What's next on the list there, sir?
Federal question jurisdiction.
Okay, we discussed that.
Statute of limitations.
Statute of limitations. What's the statute of limitations? Statute of limitations. Statute of limitations. Sir, do you happen to know that one?
Yeah.
Oh, right. What's your name again?
Julian.
Okay, you're trying to redeem yourself.
I'm trying to redeem myself.
Okay, let's try.
So it's there's a certain period of time that they need to charge someone with a crime before they can charge.
Okay, or crime, or let's not think so
All right,
much
yeah,
about
keep going,
crime.
so-
But in order to advance sort of your rights, if you have a negligent suit or something, you have to bring it within a certain amount of time, or you lose it. Okay? Good. All right. Whitaker, give me another one. Stare decisis. Stare decisis. Let the decision stand. All right? When we read the Hickenbottom letter, there was a decision that was made in 1890-something that stood until 1954. What were those decisions, Blue? What was the 1890 decision? Now, the decision was separate but equal. What was the case? Okay, Plessy versus Ferguson. Okay, and that decision stood. In all similar cases challenging this concept of separate but equal were upheld, okay, based on Plessy versus Ferguson until 1954, based on stare decisis, okay? And at that time, they overturned it. In the case of what? Brown versus Board of Education. All right, thank you, sir. You may return to your seat. And I reserve the option to call you back. Please send up a replacement. All right, Whitaker. Okay? No, not. What's your name, sir?
Dan.
Dan? I'm getting all the easy names today. All right. Dan, let's go down the list. President. Okay, which we kind of discussed with Brown. Plessy was president for all subsequent cases. All right?
Civil law tradition.
Civil law tradition. What do you have for that?
Countries with civil law systems have comprehensive, continuously updated legal codes that specify all matters capable of being brought before the court, the applicable procedure, and the appropriate time.
what did he say?
Oh, I didn't, she said.
Did anybody catch what he said?
It's basically just like they have a court system and a law system based off of
Okay, based on codes.
yeah.
Like in France and Spain, you know, it's based on the Justinian codes and Napoleonic codes, okay? Not much room for interpretation. We can understand the civil law tradition better if we look at the common law tradition. Common law tradition, Dan?
It's a compilation of legal rules and statutes.
Okay, all right. Judicial decisions. It was once said, Dan, that the sun never set on the British Empire. Why? They were over this little country, you know, so as a result, all of the countries that England had their hands in their pockets or other places now follow the common law tradition. Can you give me some examples? Of course, there's the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Ghana, Nigeria. Any other places? No. They didn't colonize their own people. They went to Africa and in the Mideast and all of those countries. Anyway, all of the Jamaica, all of those countries now have a common law system. And in the common law system, judges make law. Judges make law and judges interpret law. Okay? There's a lot more flexibility for judges. Under the civil system, there are these stringent codes that you have to fit into. But under the common law system, the judges make law. And even though we have comprehensive statutes today at all levels, judges are still making law. There was a case, I'm going to torture the facts a little bit here, but and actually make up some little fake news. But there was a case out in California where involving this accountant. And the accountant had been working long hours during March and April and was not eating properly. And instead of stopping to get a meal, the accountant would pick up junk, cakes and sodas and that sort of thing. Well, anyway, for some bizarre reason, this guy decides to go on a binge, robbing 7-Elevens and convenience stores. All right? Huh?
He's just an accountant eating junk food and now he's robbing.
Yeah, you know. Doing that, and so finally they caught up with him, and then, you know, at a trial. And then so at the trial, his defense attorney said, yes, he's been doing this, but Judge, he did it because eating all that junk food threw off his chemical, made a chemical imbalance with his brain. And, you know, because he was eating too many Twinkies. And therefore, this diminished capacity became known as the Twinkie defense. So it didn't get him off, but it sort of mitigated it. So at this point, when the judge accepted that argument, we made a new law, something brand new, Twinkie defense. Of course, the California legislature was acted promptly to, disavow them of the notion and said that that was not valid. That's how we make law. One of the ways that law is being made today is when you have the rights of same-sex couples. We know there's law establishing how you decide whether the child goes with the father or the mother, but when the child has two fathers or two mothers, how do you decide where they go? It's cases of first impression. And when we do that, judges are making law. So, common law, decisional law, judge-made law. All right? Yes, yes? Okay. All right. What's your name? Sadia? Hadia. All right, welcome. What do you want to talk about? You want to start talking about the civil trial process? Okay, let's start talking about the civil trial process. Rita, could you pick up one of those markers and go to the board there? In fact, maybe you can do it right behind here with the middle board. Put this up. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at the various stages of the civil trial process, okay? not going on? Are you pushing the right thing? Well, come here then. Please. All right. We're going through the various stages of the civil trial process. First of all, in a civil case, as opposed to a criminal case, has a different burden of proof. What's the burden of proof in a criminal matter? Now, it's not on your paper, but you know this. It is? Okay. All right, tell me.
The obligation to put evidence on the subject of the lawsuit or
By what standard? In a criminal case, you must be proven guilty by what? Beyond a reasonable doubt. All right? And if we have to assign some numerical value, we would say maybe like 99%. And it's so high because as a matter of public policy, we believe that it's better to perhaps have somebody go free than opposed to having somebody that's not committed a crime be locked up. Okay? So, it's a high burden. Okay? And what's the burden of proof in a civil matter? Yes?
the obligation to put evidence on the subject of the lawsuit.
To what standard?
So you do better than the other person.
Okay, more likely than not is the most simplest way. More likely than not. Or we can say that the burden of proof in a civil matter, if we want to get a little fancy, say preponderance of the evidence. Preponderance of the evidence. Okay. Now, the first stage of the civil trial process, and we're going to call it the pleading stage. Pleading, begging, praying. Mark, have you ever begged?
Of course.
You pleaded? I won't ask you for what. But anyway, the pleading stage, okay? All right, that's when the person's asking the court to do something. Make me whole. Give this back to me. Something. And there are various pleadings that are filed. The first pleading that's filed is called a complaint, right? And that's complaint with a capital C. Who files the complaint? The P or the D? The plaintiff, all right? So let's put pi there. Okay? All right, and along with this plaintiff, what's connected to the plaintiff? So do you get an invitation? Pi, like in the Greek pi? Yeah, that's it. Okay. All right. What's attached to the complaint? Summons. The summons is sort of like the invitation to the party. All right? Please come to court on March the 15th at 9 p.m. Graciously appreciate your appearance, okay? So once the complaint and summons are filed, all right, it's sent to the defendant. Let's make a delta sign. Like a triangle. You're not in any sorority, are you? Okay. All right. Now, the defendant has a few options. What can the defendant do, sir? Dan? Answer with a capital A. Okay, and then sometimes you get defendants, and this is what a lot of people do. They get the summons, they get the complaint, and they do absolutely nothing. They pretend it never happened. What are the consequences of totally ignoring it? Huh? You're thinking about something else. What happens in the civil? What happens? Default judgment. They lose by default. Okay, so the defendant can lose by default if they fail to answer. Okay. Or the defendant has another option, Dan, don't they? Reply. No. Counterclaim. Okay. Now, Dan, if the defendant should file a counterclaim, meaning they make a complaint against the plaintiff, then it reverses back to P, pi, pi down here. Pi then has to do what? You just said it before. Reply. Okay, these are the basic pleadings. Other people can join into proceedings. There could be a merger of various complaints. But for our purposes, this is all we need to know. This is the first stage, the pleading stage, which starts the civil trial process. Clean the board. Any questions there? All right. Judge Judy, yeah? Is that the only one you watch?
Sometimes the 3 people.
Oh, that's at like 9 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, it's early.
I like the one that comes on, I think it's divorce court. Judge Bowler.
They're talking about the ones that are like, he's not the dad.
Oh, Second is discovery. The discovery stage. And Dan, what do we mean by what happens in discovery?
You obtain information before the trial.
Okay, this is the stage where you're gathering information. You want to assess the strength of your particular case and the strength of the plaintiff of your adversary's case, okay? And there are various tools that we use in assisting in this discovery process. What's one of the tools? Mark? Interrogatories. Okay, what's the root word of that? Interrogate. Okay, interrogatories. Okay, and interrogatories are written questions which can go on for pages and pages that are sent, and the person has to answer them under oath and send them back to you. So you can discover with interrogatories. Another tool. Tim?
Lie detector?
You guys want to stay on the criminal side. What'd you say? Depositions.
Man, that's as pretty good as that.
Have you been hanging out with Whitaker? You two seem to come up with the same sort of mindset. You know him? Okay. Depositions. Another tool. Examination. Production of documents.
That goes like hand in hand.
Okay, now this can be a very time-consuming and expensive stage. Shortly after graduating from law school, I was working part-time with a firm in New York, and there were like several of us just working, cataloging discovery documents. There were about 5 of us in a room about this size, and we worked for about 4 or 5 months just cataloging the documents that had been discussed. Okay, and this is where the larger firms have an advantage over the smaller, because they can paper and request you so that you actually slow your business down. All right. So we have interrogatories, depositions, examination, production of documents, subpoenas. Okay, that's close enough. All right. Subpoenas. All right. Now, after we get discovery, now we have some idea of the strength and weakness of our particular case. And then the next stage that we would go to would be pre-trial. Pre-trial. And unfortunately, we're going to run out of time now. So when we return on Friday, we will pick up with the pre-trial on Friday. Yeah, on Friday we'll pick up with pre-trial. And I will give you hold on to those because we're not finished with that. Pre-trial, and I will add an additional assignment on Blackboard.